Our group is doing Act 2, Scene 2. In this scene, Lady Macbeth reflects on how she's intoxicated the guards and what Macbeth is doing at the moment. Then Macbeth comes back from killing Duncan. He experiences hallucinations and his wife tries to talk him out of them. Soon, Lady Macbeth notices the daggers Macbeth has in his hands and she tells him to return them to the crime scene. Macbeth refuses and he goes on to reflect on his guilt. Soon the couple hear a knocking at the south entry and they flee to bed.
Okay, so I researched were the causes of the hallucination, and my article by Sonia Garcia focused on basically how anxiety and panic disorders can lead to certain hallucinations. For example, audio misperceptions. So, like when Macbeth comes back from killing Duncan, Lady Macbeth mistakes his voice for someone coming to accuse them, and basically I think that's pretty weird because it's her husband, so you'd think that she would like recognize his voice, but you can tell like in the scene that her negative and anxiety filled thought process explains why she assumes this. And in the quote, it's alack, I'm afraid they have awakened and 'tis not done. The attempt and not the deed confounds us. And so I think when we present it when we act it out, it should be very anxious and negative because she's automatically assuming the worst. And then another thing in the article that Garcia explained was how chronic stress leads to increases in dopamine and cortisol levels, which can also lead to a higher possibility of hallucinations. And she explained how cortisol levels affect how the parts of the brain responsible for memory, and that explains why Macbeth forgets to leave the daggers at the scene. Mm-hmm. And then she also explains that stress causes people to detach from reality, and we can portray this especially in Macbeth when he comes back from killing Duncan, because he's like very frazzled in the scene and he's like not really focused on what Lady Macbeth is talking to or what she's saying to him.
Okay, that's really good. I think on the portion after that, Lady Macbeth asked Macbeth to explain his hallucinations. But he kind of it's not that he ignores her, but he almost doesn't hear her. In my research, I found that people feel more guilt when they reflect on their personal unethical actions in comparison to reflecting on the unethical acts of others. So, because throughout his hallucinations, Macbeth is reflecting on his own evil actions, we know he's feeling more guilt. And then I think in Act 1, Scene 7 too, he talks about if he were to murder Duncan, he would be killing his family, his king, and his guests. So his guilt must also be heightened by the gravity of his actions. So throughout this portion, I think Macbeth should be portrayed as being so intensely submerged in his guilt that he completely misses any comments his wife is making.
Yeah, just going off of your guys' research about feelings and how Macbeth is feeling and other characters, I researched PTSD and trauma symptoms, and hallucinations, like Jessica said, was a trauma symptom. And I found a really unique one called peritraumatic dissociation, which is simply the feeling of being detached from your body and emotions and refusing to accept how you feel. And I could tie it to when Macbeth he comes back from killing Duncan and has the murder weapon in his hands, and Lady Macbeth is telling him to go back and finish the job, plant the murder weapons on the guards. But in line 65 to 67, Macbeth says, "I'll go no more. I'm afraid to think what I've done. Look on again, I dare not." So he's basically refusing to go back to the traumatic event, and this is a side effect of peritraumatic dissociation, feeling detached from your emotions. And we can incorporate this into our scene by putting a note on when this happens and distincting that this is a cause of this certain traumatic symptom which happens from violent events.
Okay. And then to add on to that, I don't think Macbeth is just refusing to obey his wife's orders and return the daggers. Not just because he's in denial, but because his guilt is physically impeding him from doing that. In my article, I found that individuals who experience guilt find it more physically demanding to help a stranger. So Lady Macbeth asks her husband to go return the daggers and to help her in that sense. She's obviously not a stranger. However, according to research, Macbeth's guilt can physically be stopping him from helping her and framing the guards for Duncan's murder. So I think we should express how physically disabled Macbeth is by his guilt, by kind of like having your body language, Jordan, be like, you can tremble or you can make worried facial expressions to show how physically guilty you feel.
In my article, I researched like how paranoia is like contributed to your environment. I found an article by Mallory Locklear, New Insights into the Brain Regions Involved in Paranoia. There was a quote in my article that said, "The capacity to adjust beliefs about one's actions and their consequences in a constantly changing environment is a defining characteristic of advanced cognition." My article just went over how there was a study with monkeys, and it showed how different situations caused you to panic or have a violent outburst. In Macbeth Act 2, Scene 2, Macbeth experiences intense psychological disturbance after murdering King Duncan. He misinterprets every sound, and he starts to kind of get paranoid. He is quoted saying, "Every noise appalls me," and believes he hears voices telling him that he shall sleep no more. Like the study subject with disrupted belief updating, Macbeth's perception becomes unstable and threatening, reflecting internal turmoil that distorts his interpretation of the world around him. So I was thinking that when Macbeth is speaking, he can sort of be a little jittery, just going back and forth, pacing, body language wise.
Okay, that's good. I think also after Lady Macbeth goes to return the daggers to the crime scene, Macbeth starts to talk about how his guilt is so great that nothing will ever be able to rid him of it. Something that connects to that in my article is, hold on, I think I lost it. It goes, I read that feelings of guilt can lead to physical sensations of heaviness. So Macbeth says, "Will all great Neptune's oceans wash this blood clean from my hands? No." He's feeling extremely guilty. So we could express this physically through like a slouched back, or him having his hands on his chest to show that guilt is causing him to physically feel like a weight on him.
Yeah, I'd just like to add on that the guilt is him refusing to do whatever he wants to do is also a mental self-defense mechanism that he does to prevent any further harm to his state of being right there, and he just develops a really avoidant personality at that time.
That makes sense. Okay.
That which hath made them drunk hath made me bold. What had quenched them hath given me fire. Hark! Peace! It was the owl that shrieked, the fatal bellman, which gives the sterns good night. He is about it. The doors are open, and the surfeited grooms do mock their charges with snores. I have drugged their possets, that death and nature do contend about them, whether they live or die.
Who's there? What home?
Alack, I'm afraid they have awaked, and 'tis not done. The attempt and not the deed, he confounds us. Hark, I laid their daggers ready. He could not miss him. Had he not resembled my father as he slept, I'd have done it. My husband?
I've done the deed. Did thou not hear the noise?
I heard the owl scream and the crickets cry.
When?
Did not you speak?
When?
Now!
As I descended?
I,
Hark! Who lies in the second chamber?
Donalbain.
What a sorry sight.
What a foolish thought to say a sorry sight.
There was one that laughed in his sleep, and one cried murder. That did it wake each other. I stood and heard them. That they did say their prayers and address them. Again to sleep.
They're too lodged together.
One cried, God bless us, and the other, Amen. As they had seen me with these hangman hands, listening their fear, I could not say Amen when they did not say, God bless us.
Consider it not so deeply.
But wherefore could not I pronounce Amen? I must need a blessing, and Amen stuck in my throat.
Deeds must not be thought after these ways, for it'll make us mad.
Methought I heard a voice cry, sleep no more. Macbeth was murdered, sleep, the innocent sleep. Sleep that knits up the raveled sleeve of care. The death of each day's life. Sore labor's back, balm of hurt minds. Great nature's second chance, chief nourisher in life's feast.
What do you mean?
Still it cried, sleep no more. To all the house, Glamis hath murdered sleep. And therefore Cawdor shall sleep no more. Macbeth shall sleep no more.
Who was it that thus cried? Why, worthy thing, you do unbend your noble strength to think so brain sickly of things. Go, get some water, and wash this filthy witness from your hands. Why did you bring these daggers from the place? They must lie there. Go, carry them and smear the grooms with their blood.
I'll go no more. I'm afraid to think what I've done. Look once again. I dare not.
Infirm of purpose, give me the daggers. The sleeping and the dead are but as pictures. That 'tis the eye of childhood that fears a painted devil. If he do bleed, I'll guile the faces of the grooms withal, for it must seem their guilt.
What is that knocking? How is it that every noise appalls me? What hands are here, how they pluck out mine eyes? With all great Neptune's oceans will wash these hands clean. Clean from my hand? No, this my hand will rather the multitudinous seas incarnadine, making the green one red.
My hands are of your color, but I shame to wear a heart so white. I hear a knocking at the south entry. Retire we to our chamber. A little water clears us up this deed. How easy is it then? Your constancy has led you unattended. Hark, more knocking. Get on your nightgown. Let occasion call us and show us to be watchers. Be not lost so poorly in your thoughts.
To know my deed, or best not know myself. Wake Duncan with thy knocking. I would thou couldst.